Good evening. Welcome to my daily live session on mindset, and happy to be talking again today. And as usual, I'll start with the weekly sharpening theme of the day, and then briefly talk about mindset, and after that, if time permits, speak about some daily routine, if possible. Otherwise, I'll end in about 15 to 20 minutes. So today I'll try to limit to 15 minutes. Let me see how it's going to go on. So let me start with the topic for the week, which is leading. When I say leading, it's all not about just leading, not leadership. It's a combination of leadership and management. I've explained sometime earlier that leadership and management are like two sides of the coin. You cannot have leadership without management or management without leadership. Leadership is all about inspiring people, about showing them the direction, showing them the path. Then management is all about making sure that whatever that you are trying to achieve, whatever purpose you are trying to fulfill, is fulfilled in the most efficient way. So when you are talking about leading, it's not about just inspiring people and go towards a outcome, but also to make sure that they are inspired to go towards the outcome in the most optimum way, most efficient way. So there, both the topics will get handled. So one side of the coin is leadership, the other side of the coin is management. So today I'm going to talk about something which possibly is what should I say, quite important or very important. From my perspective, it is extremely important, and from the perspective of many of you as viewers, it may not be that important. I'm talking about how you're going to direct a meeting when you're organizing. I keep talking about various meetings: daily meeting, weekly meeting, monthly meeting, quarterly meeting, board meeting, etc. So, how are you going to direct a meeting? Let us say you are the director of the meeting, which is what a leader would be doing or a manager would be doing. When I use the word leader or manager, I'm always meaning a combination of leading and managing. It's a combination of both. It cannot be only one. So let us say, as a director of a meeting would be somebody who is directing the meeting, who is the chairperson in that meeting. Then he would be doing his leadership role at that particular point. Leadership role again comprises of leading and managing. In meeting, a lot of information is presented, and many a times, if you look at any organization, it's quite common that there is always a presentation which is made with PPT. PPT is the most widely used presentation tool. Otherwise, somebody could be using PDF too. They would have possibly done a presentation with some other software and converted it into PDF, or they could be using an Excel sheet. That is possibly a little more, I would say, down to earth, hands-on organization where they would use an Excel file to present something, where you also have an option of changing some data and then correcting and discussing that. That depends on the maturity of the organization. So let's look at whatever be it, whether it's an Excel, PDF, or a PowerPoint presentation. Some presentation is there in a meeting. And I'm talking about meetings which would occur on web, or meetings which would occur on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. A daily meeting, you generally don't have any presentation, but just the scorecard which is there visible on the shop floor or in the workplace wherever you're working. And along with that, there could be some data available in terms of checklists or something of that kind, which is normally should be and ideally hand filled, which is manually filled, not based on the computer. However, there are some organizations like some of the multinational companies where these scoreboards are all today made out of massive LCD screens or LED screens, touch screens. I have known one customer with whom we work, one client with whom we work, where they got a massive LED screen, I think 90-inch or a 120-inch LED panel, a massive one, where all the data gets picked up using data inputs which are made by various people. And whatever you look at as a daily scorecard on a daily meeting is all done on that LED screen, and you just need to keep touching, and then you can drill down, you can look at, you can zoom in. It's like working with a mobile phone, a massive mobile phone. That's the high-end multinational companies. But for a normal company, it would be mostly handwritten and hand filled. So I'm not talking about the weekly, daily meeting. Let's look at a weekly meeting where some presentation is generally done, or a monthly or a quarterly meeting. Now, when presentation is done, a lot of information is shown on the screen. One of the first things I talk about an experience which I had about a couple of hours earlier when I was moderating a session with one of our clients. Let us say you show the data. The data could be of, we'll take an example of, let us say, defect rate. Now, the screen shows that there is a data, you're doing a weekly meeting, and the entire data is accumulated for the week. And on a weekly basis, the data looks very, very stable. There is no variation at all, because variations happen at a base level normally. In any phenomenon, if you see, at a base level, there is a variation. Moment you accumulate various data, then various similar data, and put it into one group, then the variations get reduced. It's like demand, for example. If you're trying to get demand from each store, if you're in the retail business, the variation would be phenomenal, because it cannot possible that every day same number of customers are coming into the store to buy the material. Therefore, the projection of the demand would be totally having a huge variance. Whereas instead of only talking about one store, if you look at maybe 10 stores in that particular territory, then the demand gets to some extent dampened. And if you say that instead of 10 stores, I'm going to take the entire state together, then it will be even more dampened out. And if you say instead of the state, I'm going to take the entire country, then it will get further dampened out. So dampening happens because of multiple individual contributors which get accumulated. This is a very standard phenomenon, nothing strange, nothing to worry about. So similarly, if the defects are being presented, your defects are being counted every shift. That is the entity, that is the unit with which you normally operate. Any company would operate every shift. Now imagine if that particular data is then accumulated and it is shown as a weekly average, or a weekly total, weekly sum, or a monthly sum. And then you start trying to discuss and debate what are the reasons for that particular defect. Then what does the leader do? Leader also sits there and then looks at that and says, okay, it's fine. You guys have done a good job, because I have to be inspiring people. My question to you, to all the leaders, is it inspiration really? Is it something which is positive? You have to give a feedback. Absolutely right. There's absolutely no doubt at all that positive strokes have to be given. But when there is something which is fundamentally wrong, conceptually wrong, is it still the right of the job of the leader to give pat in the back and say you've done a great job? Or do you need to really look at what the current reality is, what the actual situation is? So I would say that you should really talk about praising for the effort that they've put in. Tremendous amount of effort has been put in, but whatever they've presented is absolutely bullshit. I'm not going to use the word bullshit, but I'm telling that it's not going to be really correct. Conceptually, it is wrong. If you're talking about the lowest unit, see, when you are trying to do any analysis, any particular effect has multiple causes, and each cause would have a different clock speed. Clock speed is speed at which things change. For example, clock speed for manpower in any company would be day. Every day the man is changing. Every day he goes back home and comes back again. If you are in production, then the clock speed is every shift, because every shift the man is changing. The clock speed for let us say the raw material could be every batch, because every batch you change the raw material and a new material came in. If the clock speed for let us say the finance processing company, the ones who are doing outsourced BPOs, for them the clock speed is every invoice. Every invoice is different, so the invoice changes. So whatever data you're trying to analyze, it's important that you come down to the lowest clock speed. Only then do you know where the variability is. Otherwise, it will get accumulated. So here, if you're taking a weekly average of defects, for example, I would possibly go about and tell that, look, whatever data you're showing is not really making sense, because you're not taking the variations. Unless the variations are there, there is nothing to discuss about. If the weekly data is extremely stable, which means that there is no variation at all. Variation is not a problem. See, when you're doing any improvement, I had explained that earlier on one of the days when we were talking about process. The first step is to ensure that there is stability. That is the first thing. Stability makes sure that the system is working correctly. And then comes the next topic of trying to improve the capability. Once the capability is improved, you've improved the stability, improved the capability, then comes the third one, to improve the predictability. So if the stability is there, capability is there, then you talk about predictability. Predictability is something which says that in the future also I'm not going to have a problem, because my process is stable, my process is capable. Capable means it is able to meet your requirements. Stability means that the variations are only very, very natural in nature, and there are no unknown causes which are affecting the variation. Therefore, you have dominated the process. When you dominate the process, then it becomes stable process. And after that, when you make sure that the process which you are having and the variations in that process are meeting your specifications, that means they're much within the specifications. And when you talk about Six Sigma, I think if my memory serves right, it's about 35 defects per million opportunities. When you are at that level, Six Sigma level, then definitely the process is capable. It's not stable, it's capable. Then comes the next activity, talk about predictability. That means if I run the same process in the next 1 month, I'll still get only 35 defects per million opportunities. That is what predictability is all about. So please keep in mind stability, capability and predictability. These are the three which one would go through. And if the process is displayed as stable, and it is really not stable, because if you go down to the day-wise data, then it will have a lot of variation. Now the question is, should the leader who is directing the particular meeting would accept that as a good statistics, good data, and then talk about what next? I would not do that at all. Because as a leader, it's not just about knowing the leading and managing and then getting people motivated, getting people energized. In true sense, the leader should also be good at what he is doing. He should be knowing the domain knowledge, have the domain knowledge to be able to recognize that whatever that the data is being shown is absolutely not making any sense. And then look at the team and tell them that, look, you get down to the day-to-day data. And once you do that, then naturally you come to a huge variation. And then you can talk about what is the reason for the variation. Then you can find out what the cause is. And then you do the improvement. And that's how the improvement happens. So here, when it comes to leading, I want to just say that it is not just about simply giving compliments, simply giving praises to whatever people present, but it is definitely making sure that the praise is very much balanced, very much, what should I say, according to the topic which is presented. And again, it's a very interesting topic. This is again another thing which I wanted to say. As you increase your competence, the realistic rating also becomes more critical. That means, I just give you an example. Let us say there is a singer who just now started singing. Singing is very, very interesting. You know, you've got a lot of reality shows on TV and even dance shows, reality dance shows, any art, for example. If I've just now started singing, and for me, singing Sarigama is something which is extremely complex. So somebody sang not just Sarigama, but they sang Lambodara Lakumikara. That is one of the first songs which is taught in Carnatic music. Or somebody sang Raindrops Keep Falling, Raindrops, right? It is the one in Sound of Music. And then that song they sang. But I am only talking about Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Si. That's my understanding. That's what I've learned. And for me, that particular music, though it is not having any tune, no melody, no rhythm, I feel it is fantastic. So I give a score of 10. Whereas the same, if somebody who's been practicing music for the last 25 years, who's really an expert in music, if you ask him then or her, then the score would be possibly 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10, because there is no rhythm, there is no tune, there is no melody, nothing is there in that particular song which somebody sang. And similarly, in leading also the same thing is there. If you are able to understand the domain expertise, it's important. Therefore, I say that hands-on leadership is extremely important. You need to understand what it is. And I had a boss who was a commercial, had commercial background, later went on to become a big chap in Bosch. And he went on to become the chairman. Of course, I can even name his name. This gentleman is named as Franz Fehrenbach. He was my boss, and he was phenomenal, phenomenal in being able to dig down. When somebody shows a graph which is not making sense, he would dig down to find out that there is a variation, there is something which is not missing there. And how would he do that? Because of plausibility. What is plausibility? It's trying to compare this particular information to some other information. And when you do that, automatically you would be in a position to understand that what is being presented is not plausible. It's not something which is having any correlation. And when that happens, it is the leader's job, in my opinion, to really intervene and talk about something which is wrong there and try to get it corrected. And of course, you pat the team for the effort that they have put in, but not for the result that presented. Great leaders do that. Like the one I just now mentioned, he became later the chairman of Bosch managing board, and now he's the chairman of the Bosch advisory board. So some people of that kind, of that caliber, would really do that. And if you want to be an exceptional leader, it's important that you become extremely critical on that particular topic. Because when you are inspiring somebody to do the right thing, to the correct thing, to reach that outcome in the right way. And therefore, a leader also needs to have management along with him. Now, that is not everywhere. Why is it so? Because of the mindset. What is mindset? Mindset is based on how we have been cultivated. How has been our cultivation? How have we brought up? What kind of experiences we have had? What kind of emotional memories do we have? What kind of emotional experiences do we have? All this accumulated together forms what is called as a framework. And based on this framework, the mind is constantly doing predictions in real-time basis. And based on these predictions, we are perceiving the reality. We are thinking by connecting the dots to establish the cause and effect. We are deciding either by the gut or intuition, or we are deciding by the effort and the benefits. And finally, we are acting and responding with consistency and conviction. Why is it that I saw that graph and I said that something is fundamentally wrong there? Not because I am, what should I say, super competent. It's basically because I have gone through that innumerable number of times in my life as a leader. I've sat in tens of thousands of meetings as a director in a meeting. So I know what's going to go on, and that's the experience which I have got. That's the emotional experience and emotional baggage which I have got in my mind, and that is what that drives me to be able to look at that just like that. I don't need more than a second, more than half a second to find out that something is not matching, and, and and that's something which you can only do if you go through the experience. It's without experience, it's not possible. Just going and attending classes and sitting there for hours together listening to lectures will really not be of any help. Today actually I am only talking and you're just listening to me. I'm really sorry for that. You can definitely write to me at dinakar at samuthána.com, or call me up. You can find my number on the website, which is dinakarmurthy.com. Call me up and we can definitely have a dialogue. And what I'm trying to say is that experience is extremely important, and without the experience the mindset will not change. And for changing the mindset, experience is extremely important. As adults, experience is the only one. Emotional experience is the only one that will change our mindset. We can change the mindset in two ways. One is by discussing and debating. That's the only way to do it. Both the methodologies only through discussion and debate, using contextual hints. That is what the doHow game is all about. That is number one. Number two, to consistently participate and conduct meetings. In the meetings, it's important. Like I said in the beginning, leader has to really go down, drill down in the data or information, or any proposals which are presented, to ensure that there is traceability, there is credibility, there is understanding of what to check, at what clock speed to check. Clock speed is the speed at which the things change, is what I said. At what clock speed to check, and how much to check. All this is important. Unless you have been able to do that, the meetings will not be effective, because meetings will just be a kind of a discussion where everybody came together and then everybody nodded their head and went back. That's all. And that's the reason why meetings are really felt as useless, absolutely useless, because there is no value addition. What is the value addition for me in the meeting? If I go there, I sit there, half an hour I sat there, and after that I came out. That's all. Every meeting should be such a great learning opportunity. Every meeting should be a great training session. Every meeting should be a great facilitation session, wherein people go to the meeting with tremendous amount of inspiration because they have learned something new, they have discovered something new. And that is the meetings which I'm talking about. And therefore I've created the template with weekly, daily, weekly, monthly and quarterly wisdoms. And I have, with my wisdom, defined what the sequence should be, so that it will be easy for all of you to conduct such meetings which are very, very inspirational in nature. So let me very briefly today talk about the daily meeting, and then uh, uh, explain to you how do I mean about this very standard agenda. In the daily meeting, you start with the scoreboard. Scoreboard is something which tells you where do you stand today. I have not seen any team sport, be it cricket, soccer, basketball, volleyball, hockey, ice hockey, polo, any sport you talk about being played without any scoreboard. Whereas in management, in companies, there are many meetings which are held without a scoreboard. How the hell is it possible? How the hell is it possible that somebody conducted a meeting without a scoreboard? Doesn't exist at all. So the first thing is to have the scoreboard. Once you have the scoreboard, then you develop the same ability which I have in terms of very, very quickly understanding something is not matching, because you get used to seeing the scoreboard. And that's something which is very, very important. Have a scoreboard. Second is, based on the scoreboard, you find out what were the success and failure yesterday. Why did people fail? Why did people succeed? And what can we learn from that? Success and failure keep happening. You can't really keep influencing that. But the only thing which we can do is learn from that. And what is the learning from that? Learning means what way can we do something differently? That is the second topic. Third is to make sure that there is a rolling plan, so that everybody is aligned towards one direction. Rolling plan for the next 3 days with 5-day horizon: yesterday, today, tomorrow, day after, and the day after. And after that, talk about deviation management in case anything didn't go as planned. Then what do you do to ensure that it will not cause any damage later, to make sure that the containment is done for the deviation? And the next one is to ensure that the teamwork is going on smoothly. Despite conflicts between the team members, conflicts have to be there. Despite the conflicts, the teamwork is going on smoothly, to leverage the conflicts to get a wow solution to the benefit of the outcome. And then after that, talk about recognition and celebration. Celebrate something, recognize something, clap. That is extremely important, so that you really give a kind of an energy, motivation for the entire team. And finally, talk about escalations in consensus. What are you going to talk about in terms of reporting, in terms of seeking approval, in terms of seeking support, or just giving heads up to the top management, always in consensus. And this is my recipe. It's a standard recipe which you can start doing it. I can guarantee you within 2 weeks, a lot of your issues will be sorted out. That's what I can say, which I've been experiencing with many of my clients and my own journey as an executive. So it's not really a big complex situation. So you can manage it and you can do it excellently well. Thanks a lot for watching. And for those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. And before I go, I again request you to talk to your friends, neighbors, relatives, and colleagues, or colleagues, on their perceptions of people-to-people interactions, what you assume their perceptions would be. Find the commonalities and the differences. Start a dialogue to establish a common collective mindset. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice weekend. See you again, more or less the same time on Monday. Goodbye.